following is a Cable 14 special presentation.
June is Seniors Month, so let's celebrate seniors. Welcome to the 2021 Seniors Virtual Event, Aging Well in Hamilton. Let's kickstart this event by welcoming City of Hamilton Mayor Fred Eisenberger.
Hello and welcome. On behalf of the City of Hamilton and my council colleagues, I want to welcome you to the Aging Well in Hamilton, our virtual celebration to Seniors Month. Seniors are an important part of our community. As a city, we support, celebrate, and recognize seniors in Hamilton for their many contributions and achievements, not only during Seniors Month, but throughout the year. One of the ways we recognize and celebrate seniors in our city is the annual Hamilton Senior of the Year Awards. If you know an outstanding senior who volunteers their time and talent to enrich our community, I encourage you to nominate them for the Senior of the Year Award. Nominations are open until June 28, 2021. Winners and nominees will be recognized in the fall. So visit hamilton.ca/seniors awards to learn more. Along with the support of partner agencies, many of which will be featured in this virtual series, we continue to work towards our vision of being the best place to raise a child and age successfully. Together, we are committed to creating an age-friendly community that is inclusive, safe, and a healthy place for seniors to call home.
Thank you, Mayor Eisenberger, for your message. And like Mayor Fred said, if you know a senior deserving of Senior of the Year Award, nominate them. Now, over the next 3 shows, you'll enjoy a variety of presentations, demos, and entertainment. The City of Hamilton and key community partners, the Hamilton Council on Aging and Seniors Advisory Committee, are launching their second age-friendly plan, the 2021-2026 Hamilton's Plan for Age-Friendly Community. To learn more about the new plan, I would like to introduce Dr. Lori Letts, Professor in the Department of Rehabilitation Science and Assistant Dean of the Occupational Therapy Program at McMaster University. In addition, Dr. Letts is co-chair of Hamilton's Age-Friendly Collaborative Governance Committee. Welcome, Dr. Letts.
Hello. I'm thrilled to be here today as part of the Aging Well in Hamilton celebration in support of older adults in Hamilton. My name is Lori Letts, and I speak to you today in my role as a board member with the Hamilton Council on Aging, and I'm also co-chair of the Age-Friendly Hamilton Collaborative Governance Committee. That committee is made up of partners from the Hamilton Council on Aging, the Seniors Advisory Committee of the City of Hamilton, and the City of Hamilton itself. And we are also joined by goal champions who are community and organizational volunteers from across the city. I'm going to take a few minutes today to introduce you to the 2021 to 2026 Age-Friendly Community Plan, which we are pleased to formally launch today. This 2021 to 2026 plan has been developed over the past 2 years in consultation with people across Hamilton, including the small urban communities within our municipality. We have built on the initial age-friendly plan and strive to make more progress to make Hamilton an age-friendly community. To begin, I want to highlight some background that makes Age-Friendly Hamilton's work so important. First, across Ontario, seniors are the fastest growing age group. Across Canada, we now have more people over the age of 65 years than under the age of 14. And projections suggest that Ontario's older adult population is going to continue to grow. In Hamilton, our population of people 55 years of age and older represents 30% of the population. In addition, it's important to note that there are 14,336 adults 65 plus living with dementia, and this number is growing. Now, what are the roots of age-friendly Hamilton or age-friendly communities? Some of the initial work stems from the World Health Organization, which established the initiative and a framework to create age-friendly environments. The link between age-friendly environments and health and well-being of people aging in their communities is important to acknowledge. In 2010, the World Health Organization formed a global network of age-friendly cities and communities. and Hamilton became a member of that network in 2015. So heading back a bit in time then, it might be useful to share a bit of the history of efforts to make Hamilton an age-friendly city. The efforts to develop the first age-friendly Hamilton plan began in about 2013 when our three partners came together. In 2014, the first age-friendly Hamilton plan was approved and endorsed by Hamilton City Council. In 2015, our Collaborative Governance Committee was established with the Council on Aging, Seniors Advisory Committee, and the City of Hamilton all represented. That committee oversaw implementation efforts until the official end of the plan in 2019. So what was done and accomplished with our first age-friendly Hamilton plan? There was a lot of community engagement and activity, and I'll just highlight a few examples and achievements for you today. First, with a focus on housing, there were 3 home adaptation guides developed and distributed to homeowners, to tenants, and to property management firms. There were workshops held under the heading Let's Get Moving that supported older adults in Hamilton to take the bus, to ride a bike, and take a walk on one of our local trails. The City of Hamilton created a new web page on their site that is dedicated to address the needs and interests of older adults. Funding was received for a social isolation impact plan that connected 1,300 older adults to programs and services in our community. The City of Hamilton produced a 55-plus program guide, and the Senior Center Without Walls program was initiated, something that's been very well received with restrictions associated with the COVID-19 pandemic. A project aimed at lessening stereotypes and reducing stigma associated with aging was undertaken, entitled Portraits of Aging, which shared photos and stories from the lives of some of Hamilton's engaged and involved older adults. As a final example, Hamilton's Seniors of the Year Awards became a gala event for the community, with 400 to 500 attendees in pre-COVID years. The Collaborative Governance Committee wanted to build on these many activities and accomplishments and initiated work to consult with the community in development of the next age-friendly plan, the one that we are launching today. Much of the initial consultation was conducted in 2018 and 2019, before pandemic restrictions were in place. As a result, the consultations were able to reach more than 4,000 older adults in Hamilton through a variety of methods. We used focus groups, a launch event, survey, community events. And we also conducted and consulted community service organizations and staff and leaders within the City of Hamilton. All of these consultations helped us formulate the 2021 to 2026 Age-Friendly Hamilton Plan. A new added focus to the 2021 to 2026 plan has been to build in components that would support making Hamilton not only an age-friendly community, but also dementia-friendly. The Hamilton Council on Aging has been the lead partner, along with the Alzheimer's Society and other partners, working on a project in Hamilton as well as Haldimand to work towards dementia-friendly communities. Using results from the initial consultations conducted for that project, we were able to incorporate some principles, objectives, and recommendations to incorporate dementia-friendly efforts into the age-friendly Hamilton Plan. We are one of the first communities to incorporate dementia-friendly lens in an age-friendly plan. As I've previously mentioned, COVID-19 undoubtedly has had an impact on the work towards making Hamilton age-friendly, both in our efforts to prepare the 21 to 2026 plan, but also in the kinds of objectives and recommendations that are incorporated into the plan. Our work on the plan was suspended in the early months of the pandemic, but we reconvened in the fall of 2020 to move ahead again. As part of that, we did conduct additional community consultations, virtually of course, and work to identify gaps and opportunities emerging as a result of the pandemic. However, it does continue to be difficult to predict how the implications or how the pandemic will impact our community and the older adults in it. As a result, we've committed to a midpoint review to reconsider implications and adjust goals, recommendations, and objectives if needed. So, what is the focus of our 2021 to 2026 Age-Friendly Hamilton Plan? As I've said, the new plan builds on the successes of the original plan that was developed in 2014. It aligns really well with the city's vision to be the best place to raise a child and to age successfully. The new plan we are launching today incorporates one new principle related to building a dementia-friendly community, and it includes 7 goal areas, 21 objectives, and 61 actions or recommendations. In this slide, you'll see the focus of our 7 strategic goal areas. They include housing, transportation, information and communication, health and community services, social participation, which includes recreation, learning, arts and culture, civic engagement, volunteerism and employment, and finally, outdoor spaces and buildings. If you're curious and want to see more details of what's included in the plan, I'll share information about how you can access it in my final slide. So where do we go next, now that the 2021 to 2026 plan for an age-friendly community for Hamilton is released? Well, the Collaborative Governance Committee is already in the process of formulating comprehensive implementation and evaluation plans so that we can get started. We also will be taking a broad community-engaged approach to implementation. We know that there are many individuals, groups, and organizations in Hamilton who are already undertaking initiatives to make Hamilton more age-friendly and dementia-friendly. We'll be reaching out in coming months to begin tracking and celebrating what community partners are already doing and achieving. As I noted, we have also committed to conducting a detailed review at the midpoint of the plan's duration so that we can identify any gaps and opportunities that may arise. We are also committed to continue to report annually to City Council, but importantly, to the broader community so that we can all share in the successes and achievements that are made each year. So, if you're interested in getting involved, or if you just want to be kept informed about the work we are doing to make Hamilton age-friendly, you can contact any of the people on this slide. If you'd like to receive a copy of the executive summary or the full plan of the 2021 to 2026 plan for an age-friendly community, it's available electronically through either the City of Hamilton site or the Hamilton Council on Aging site provided here. We also have print copies, which we would be pleased to distribute to any community members who would prefer a paper version. And you can receive that by contacting us either by email or phone. I hope that I've conveyed to you our excitement about launching Hamilton's 2021 to 2026 plan for an age-friendly community. This plan represents both significant amount of work and a tremendous potential to make our community even more age-friendly. I look forward to collaborating with many partners to turn that potential into reality. I am sorry that this launch is not in person. It would be wonderful to have opportunities to speak to anyone interested and to respond to questions. Since that isn't possible, at least not yet, I hope this presentation has piqued your interest and you'll join us in working to make Hamilton a more age-friendly community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Letts, for your informative presentation. It is so comforting to know that Hamilton is on its way to becoming an age-friendly community. Now, elder abuse is a growing concern for all of us. I would like to introduce Constable Andrea McLaughlin, Senior Support Officer with Hamilton Police Service.
Hello, I'm Constable Andrea McLaughlin, Senior Support Officer for the Downtown Division of the Hamilton Police Service. I investigate incidents of abuse and neglect and address quality of life issues to ensure that every older adult is receiving the care they need and living a lifestyle to which they deserve. I would like to talk to you today regarding elder abuse. Abuse can take the form of physical abuse, financial abuse, psychological abuse, neglect, and self-neglect. Acts of abuse are crimes that go underreported. Abusers are often people who depend on the older adult for shelter or financial support and can be family members, neighbors, hired caregivers, friends, or strangers. These crimes are not reported due to fear of repercussions, embarrassment, or stigma.
Police, fire, or ambulance?
I need help. When I would not give him any money, he hit me.
Where are you?
I'm at home.
Where is that, ma'am?
First place, 360 King Street, apartment 2525.
What is your name and when were you born?
My name is Mary Smith. My birth date is January the 2nd, 1945.
What has happened?
Well, my son came over and he wanted money. I didn't have any to give him. I'm on a fixed income, and I still need to buy my prescription, and I still need to pay for my rent. But he got mad, and he pushed me to the floor, and then he wouldn't even help me up.
When did this all happen?
Just now, but he's left.
Do you need an ambulance? Do you have any injuries?
No, I'm okay.
Is your door locked? Does your son have a key to that door?
I've locked my door. I'm sorry, I guess I'm just scared because he's going to come back, or he might come back, but he doesn't have a key.
What's your son's name and when was he born?
John Smith. He was born July the 1st, 1968.
Can I have your buzzer code for the apartment so the police can make entry?
2525.
Mrs. Smith, are you going to be okay? The police are on their way. If your son comes back, please call 911. Keep your door locked and do not let him in again.
Okay, thank you so much.
Physical abuse can be in the form of slapping, hitting, shaking, punching, or rough handling, sexual assault, or forced confinement. Physical abuse can be identified by unexplained injuries, discrepancies between the story of an injury and the type of injury, broken walkers or glasses, changes in behavior such as withdrawal from friends and activities. Financial abuse can be in the form of a fraud, forgery, theft, or the dishonest use of a person's money or assets, theft by power of attorney, or being pressured into making a purchase that you do not want. Financial abuse can be recognized by unexplained transactions on your banking statements, checks cashed on your account that you did not write, someone denying you access to your bank account, your banking statements, your bank card, or credit cards. Neglect occurs when a caregiver fails to meet the personal care needs of someone dependent on them. Self-neglect is the inability of persons to adequately care for themselves. Neglect and self-neglect can be recognized in a person who fails to thrive, is isolated, depressed, shows fear and anxiety, dehydration, lack of food, or poor living conditions. Psychological abuse can take the form of humiliation, threatening, not allowing a person to make their own decisions, or deliberately isolating someone. A person who is being psychologically abused can exhibit low self-esteem and withdrawal, be reluctant to talk openly, lets the abuser answer for them, or is isolated. If you have been abused or think someone else is being abused, call the police or Crime Stoppers. Police will investigate all reports of abuse for older persons. Abuse is not a normal part of aging. Report it to stop it.
Thank you so much, Constable McLaughlin, for that information that I know will help out so many. You're watching one of 3 episodes of Aging Well Hamilton right here on Cable 14. We're going to take a short break, and when we return, we will be taking a special tour, compliments of the Art Gallery of Hamilton. Welcome back. We've all been missing getting out and visiting our amazing museums, and the Art Gallery of Hamilton has put together this video for us. Enjoy.
Hamilton is a city that means many different things to each of us. When Hamilton is mentioned, some may think Steel Town, while others recall their lives growing up in the suburbs. Others still will think of downtown or the many green spaces around the city. Artists have used Hamilton as a subject for many years and share the varied identities of the city in their work. The Art Gallery of Hamilton collection, which holds more than 10,000 works of art in trust, includes many examples of Hamilton in art spanning more than 150 years. This scene is one that is likely to be familiar to anyone who has spent some time in Hamilton's downtown core. Titled "Looking South on James Street," this painting is by Juanita Labar Symington. Painted in the 1960s, it shows some of the familiar architecture at the intersection of King and James, including the iconic Piggott Building and the statue in Gore Park, along with some buildings which no longer exist. Born in 1904, Symington was an avid teacher, artist, and later a president of the Women's Art Association of Hamilton. In this painting we see a city that is vibrant and active, with many small clusters of people moving about on a snowy winter's day. With bright colors and a painterly touch, this image shows us a positive perspective of an urban city that is thriving. Let's go back in time about 100 years. Here we see a very different Hamilton, one that favors the wilder, natural landscape. Painted in 1862 by Robert Whale, a 19th century British-born Canadian artist, this image shows us a romanticized view of Coote's Paradise, with small hints of the city in the distance. Like many artists of his time, Whale used sketches of the landscape that he made on site to create an ideal composition back in his studio. This approach, a distant vista framed by delicate trees, was typical of other British artists at the time, and conveyed the ideal of nature as immense and untamed. If you look closely at the middle left, you will see that he has included 3 tiny figures in the painting, dressed in their finery and out for a stroll in the forest. These figures bring a little bit of life and a little bit of civilization to the scene, but they also offer a sense of just how tiny human presence is in this place. It is important to remember that images like this one offer a very colonial view of the land, that of an undiscovered land waiting to be claimed, rather than reflecting the deeper understanding of a land populated for centuries by indigenous people, whose lives and histories are an essential part of the story of this place. Viola Depew is another important Hamilton artist. Here she shares a picture of a bustling and progressive city. Painted in 1962, this painting shows a similar view to the last, looking out across the bay towards Lake Ontario. While the location is similar to the previous image, the city is now a very different place. Depew's work embraces 1960s abstraction with its strong colors and bold geometric shapes. The modern and progressive style reflects well the modern city it portrays. Though they were both painted around the same time period, the style of this work is in sharp contrast to the first painting we saw. And unlike Whale's painting of 100 years earlier, this painting places nature in the background, with apartment buildings, several churches, civic buildings, and homes crammed together in a bustling downtown. She has even included the steel mills at the water's edge. Here, her bright colors and well-designed composition communicate a positive and joyful sense of place. This is a city in its prime, thriving before urban decay and economic struggle set in. Emblematic of both the Steel Town moniker of today and the post-war boom that Hamilton experienced in the 1950s is this painting by Joseph Sidney Hallam. Painted in 1953, we see the monumental structure that makes up part of the industrial steel mills. This is an interesting image to think about. while through contemporary eyes, many viewers immediately think of pollution and environmental impact, we must also remember the time in which it was created and take a second look. The factory takes up the majority of the canvas, with great detail paid to the various structures. The sky is blue, filled with fluffy white clouds. It is a lovely day, which makes most viewers feel very good. And there is no sign of smoke or pollution, which you would think he would have included if he thought badly about these factories. As industry and other activity expanded, it was a time of prosperity for the city of Hamilton. There was a lot of demand for steel, and the steel companies grew very quickly. This meant jobs and prosperity for the community. For this artist, perhaps, this painting is meant to reflect the positive impacts that he saw at the time. In a final example, we see a photograph by Joseph Hartman, a contemporary artist with strong attachment to Hamilton. In this image, we see aspects of each of the previous artworks: scenic views partially framed by trees, green space, an expansive view of Hamilton Harbour and Lake Ontario, tall buildings and living spaces, and an industrial complex of huge proportions in the distance. The image is calm and understated, and offers each viewer an opportunity to consider the city from all of its personalities. We are left with the space to contemplate the city as a multifaceted place, and the artist has left lots of space and opportunity for each viewer to consider their own perspectives and feelings about the city of Hamilton. While the AGH is currently closed, we hope to open our doors once again later this summer. Many of these works are currently on display, so please come and see them in person. Until then, visit us on the web for lots of virtual programming and many opportunities to connect with the gallery and with its collection.
Wasn't that a treat? And we look forward to getting back to places like the Art Gallery of Hamilton. And again, thanks to the Art Gallery of Hamilton for putting that great video together for us. We've got so much more to get through, so let's keep going. And we all know that being active contributes to overall good health. Regular activity becomes even more important as we age. I would like to introduce Lisa Dunlop, Seniors Fitness Specialist, who will speak about the benefits of staying active as we age.
Hi everybody, welcome to this session called The Importance of Exercise. And I want to talk to you about exercise as that sort of that big picture concept. And why would you want to do exercise, especially if you haven't been doing exercise for a long time or you've kind of gotten out of the habit of it. And this is something especially important for older adults. So a little bit about me. My name is Lisa. I'm an older adult fitness person. I'm an older adult myself. And I also went to Western University and got a whole bunch of training about fitness for older adults. So that gives you a little bit of a background of where I'm coming from. When you think of the word exercise, most people that I know kind of go, ugh, you know, like it's something I should do. My doctor says I should exercise, or you know, my friends are really keen for me to join them at this new pickleball, but I'm just like, I'm not that into exercise. There's a kind of a, it's good for me, therefore I probably won't really like it kind of a flavor. I think of it kind of as medicine. And I want to help you replace that if you have that attitude or that kind of flavor, because it's a lot of us grew up with exercise was mandatory and it wasn't that much fun. Slide that over to thinking of exercise as longevity. So you can call longevity whatever you want. Long, healthy, active lifespan. Long, independent life. And we're going to come back again and again to the word independence, because independence is a great concept. But when you think of your lifespan, I want to spend the fewest number of years at the end of my life, depend on other people, you know, depending on people, to help me with those activities of daily living, those things that I have to do, and I want to be able to do them for myself. So exercise is going to expand that active, healthy lifespan, and it's going to minimize the number of years that I need help from other people. And I'm fine with that. You know, if that's my definition of exercise, then I'm in. I'll try something new like pickleball, or I'll try something new like going for the pole walking, or I'll try something new that is going to give me that at the end of the picture goal. The other thing about exercise that I found out, you know, when I went back to school as an older adult, is that Muscle mass. So you think of your body as all, it's muscle, right? We're all made of muscle. But in your 20s, you're at your peak muscle mass, right? Remember being 20 and everything was fantastic and you could do it all. And then slowly over the years, we lose a little bit of muscle mass every year. And no one tells us this is happening, and we don't really notice it until maybe, I think it was around age 50, I said, I can't lift this thing anymore. This used to be easy. And now, I'm getting older. It can't be helped. Oh, I'm just aging. And the nice thing to know about muscle mass loss is A, it happens to everybody, and B, it is completely reversible. Not just you can stop losing muscle mass, not only can you stop it, you can build it back up. So yay, exercise. If it's going to stop that muscle mass loss, it's going to give me a longer independent life, then I'm in. I'm willing to try it. So I'm hoping that big picture of exercise helps to get people past that sense of, oh, I have to do it because it's good for me, right? Ugh, no, that doesn't sound too good. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is how old is too old to start? Like, is there a point past which I'm not going to bother? I'm just too old. And I do hear this sometimes, like, why would I start now? I've never done exercise before. So I want you to think about this study that was done, some university somewhere, 90-year-olds, 90 plus. So 90 was the youngest participant. They all had multiple chronic conditions, not just one, but multiple chronic conditions, like things like diabetes, things like osteoarthritis, things like dementia. So multiple of those chronic conditions, they hadn't exercised before. They weren't in good shape, and they signed up for this 8-week, I'm going to call it resistance training. I don't want you to think like weight training, like pumping iron. These were appropriate exercises for a 90-year-old to do. And after 8 weeks, they were supervised. It was very structured. But after 8 weeks, every single participant said, I feel better. Not just my muscles feel better, not just I can do more of those repetitions, feel better, but I feel better, and I can also have more independent movement. So some of them were in a bedridden state, and they could transfer themselves from the bed to the wheelchair, right? And that's huge, right? When you're bedridden and you can suddenly have a little bit of independence. So I guess my point is that it really isn't ever too late to start. You need to start with something appropriate, though. You're not going to start the week after your hip replacement. You're not going to start, when you have other things going on. So never too late to start. And I also wanted to touch on the fact that there's lots of things out there that you can discover how to do now with this virtual world out there. There's a lot of virtual programs out there you can just watch. You don't have to be seen. You don't have to show up at a place. You can just watch and say, oh, hey, you know what? I think I could do that. Then you're going to get some help with making sure you do it safely. So kind of doing that sampling of what's out there in the virtual world, okay? And there's a lot of stereotypes, and I think they're pretty harmful, some of them. Do you know the rocking chair stereotype? Where, the older adult is on the rocking chair on the front porch, and they've worked really hard their whole life, and they've earned their rest, and it's just going to be like this leisure ride into their golden years. Or maybe, I remember this very vividly, those posters around those billboards. So here's the couple who've retired, and they've worked really hard, and they've got this great retirement savings plan, and they're lounging in the lounge chair, and there's like this fruity drink beside them, and with a little umbrella in it, and they got the sun hats on, and they're gonna lounge their way into their golden years. And guess what? That's actually not true. That's the opposite of how our bodies work. If we lounge, and don't move, or if we sit in our rocking chair and don't move, we're going to stop being able to move. And this is so if we think that we've kind of earned this rest, and then I'm asking you to move, there's a big gap there, right? Feels like a big ask. And what I want to do is take that lounge kind of picture and shake it up a little bit and say, if they're doing beach volleyball between lounging, awesome. That makes sense. If between the rocking chair bouts, they're up, gardening and running around with the grandkids or running around with the neighborhood kids, awesome. But let's take that painted picture and change it up again to be more realistic about what we need to do to stay healthy and as an older adult. The opposite stereotype, think of the super senior athlete, the elite triathlete who breaks a world record at the age of 100 and something. And you have this, people who are incredibly fit, and maybe they started being fit in their older, adult years, but they're competitive naturally and they enjoy doing this. I don't want to have to be a super athlete, and I don't want to sit around and lounge, but there's so much room in the middle, and that's where most of us are, is in this middle area between superstar athlete, competitive, and over here with the people who just, they're just going to sit around and enjoy their old age, from a sort of a stationary position. So having said that, let's talk about what is movement. What is it, right? What is exercise? People talk about movement, they talk about activity, they talk about exercise, and it's like that's all the same thing, when really that makes it confusing. Movement is the big thing, right? Movement, stillness, movement or sedentary. Those are two, you can't do both, right? You're moving or you're not. So that's the big, huge filter that we're going to bring down to activity. So activity is like a subset or a piece of that movement that actually has kind of a purpose, right? You're moving, but you have a purpose. You're walking the dog. You are gardening, you're watering your flowers. You are getting up and making coffee. You are moving with a purpose, and so that's an activity. So an activity might be with friends, it might be on your own, it might be in your home, it might be outside, but that's part of narrowing down that movement. And then a subset or a little bit narrower funnel of activity is exercise. And exercise is structured. It has a purpose of fitness, right? That's the purpose of exercise, is fitness, or you could call it health, or you could call it wellness. If you don't like a word that I use, just substitute a different word that kind of means the same thing to you. So maybe it is walking with a group of friends around the neighborhood. Maybe it is taking Fluffy the dog out for a walk. Maybe it is going on a bike ride, or maybe it's having an active holiday where you are going to be hiking. But there's that idea of structure, and you're doing it fairly frequently. Maybe you've got a set schedule. Maybe you go to a dance, every month or every week. Maybe you take a class. So fitness and exercise are structured, and they usually have a social component. So even if you're cycling, you probably will be smiling at other cyclists, right? Even if you're doing a solitary activity that's kind of your own, you're in your own groove and you're walking, you're probably going to nod or at least acknowledge other people who are around you, maybe doing similar things. So there's a big part of exercise that is social, and I think we all have kind of figured that out during the past year or so, that I miss that. I miss that part. I miss that part of my exercise regime. And the magic ingredient, the secret ingredient to exercise, is called intensity. And it's like a flavor enhancer. It's a booster or a multiplier to the many benefits of exercise, which I'll mention in a minute. So intensity means that you're doing things to rev yourself up a little bit higher than your usual walk. So you go with your friends, you take the same route, which is great. You can do all the same things, but if you one day went a different route, you would all have to think a little bit more and a little bit differently and be more aware of your surroundings. And maybe you add a little incline there, a little stair walk, like little stairs. I'm not talking the big stairs. I'm talking a few stairs, or maybe a little incline, or maybe you're walking a little bit on the grass rather than always on the sidewalk. You're starting to add a little bit more flavor, a little bit more intensity, and your heart and your lungs get a little bit more revved up, and you get a multiplying benefit to multiplying all those benefits of exercise, which are way too many to list. I'm just going to say it's good for your heart, it's good for your lungs, good for your bones, it's good for your brain and your memory, it's good for your chronic conditions. So anybody who's already got a little bit of osteoarthritis, maybe you have a little bit of pre-diabetes, maybe you have already these things that have come to you without you really understanding where they came from. All of a sudden one day you're pre-diabetic, or one day you have a diagnosis of something. Exercise is going to help manage those chronic conditions to either slow down the progression or it's going to help you manage the symptoms of those different chronic conditions. That to me is really big, because as we get older, we're more likely to run into these chronic conditions. We can also do a little bit of preventative. So more fit, more exercise means I'm less likely to trip and fall in my home or out in the community, and falls, you know, are a big deal with older adults. They are the beginning of often for people, a trip to the hospital, and that can, you know, be kind of a one-way trip into not feeling so confident about their physical, you know, their physical abilities. The other thing about the benefits of exercise is a lot of them are your mood. You feel better. You know, maybe you look better, maybe you don't. Who cares? You feel better, and you're a little bit happier, maybe. You also want to make sure you're doing the right exercises for you. I'm not saying go out and just do something saying, well, I'm going to feel better, so I'm just going to go do this. I don't really know what it is. I'm just going to give it a try, but, you know, I don't really know if I can do this or not. Or maybe, you know, I have this frozen shoulder, but hey, what the heck? I'm going to go play badminton. You always have to filter what exercise you're going to do. First of all, talk to your medical team, the whole team, not just the doctor, but the whole team. Make sure it makes sense, and then make sure it makes sense to you on that day too. You show up to pickleball, you decide you don't really like the look of it, you can say, yeah, you know, maybe I'll try something else. So that's important too. I want to do a very brief shout out to Hamilton, our wonderful city, has these things called QR trails. Okay, they're signs, they're like a turquoise color, and we have at least 15 to 20 of them around the city. If you want to learn more about them, you go to hamilton.ca, recreation and outdoor fitness programs. And in the outdoor fitness programs, you're going to see like the outdoor pools and the outdoor fitness in the park, and then you're going to see QR trails. And QR, if you think of a barcode, but it's like a square, that's a quick response code, and it's on a sign, and there's a series of signs. There's a warm-up, there's a cool-down, and there's a bunch of signs in between. And if you just follow those signs and you walk or you run or you ride in between them, you get a complete workout for free, outside, always maintained on these trails. So thank you, Hamilton, for being so fabulous, giving us access to this kind of thing. Let's talk about our movements and make them be functional. So if anybody out there loves doing burpees, I applaud you. I do not like burpees. Never at the grocery store am I going to use the skills in my body that I got doing burpees. But I might reach out and try and get that thing that's on sale, that's on the top shelf at Costco, that everybody else has pushed them back, right? And so I might balance on one foot and reach and do the big reach. So I'm going to want to do this in my exercise so that I have a sense I can do that without falling over, you know, in the grocery store, without having to, you know, kind of grab onto that cart. Am I ever going to do jumping jacks? Probably not. Would I do a jumping jack in a grocery store or, you know, in my daily life? Probably not. But I might do something where I stand on one leg or I climb a ladder, right? So those kinds of things are important to me, to have the movement be doable, appropriate, functional for me, always safe, and always adding a little bit of intensity. So the thing I wanted to leave you with, the sort of the takeaway of the talking part, because I can talk a lot, but what do you need to know about the dose? How much exercise do I need to do? What's my minimum dose to get some of these fantastic benefits? 3 numbers to remember: 150 minutes per week. 150 minutes is 2.5 hours out of 7 days. That's not so bad. That's like half an hour a day, 5 days a week, or you want to do 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. The second important number is 10. So 10-minute chunks. You need 10 minutes of getting your heart and breathing up to a certain rate where you're kind of working in order to get the benefits kind of flowing. If you're just walking the dog and she's stopping every 5 feet, your heart rate is really not going to get up there to that intensity where you're going to kick into that multiplier effect, that benefit effect. Nothing wrong with walking the dog, but if you raise the intensity, you get the multiplier of the benefits. So 150 per week, 10-minute chunks, add a couple of times of doing some resistance training, and I'm talking about not powerlifting, not going to the gym. I'm talking about just use your muscles. Put a lemon here, try and squeeze it. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Resistance training for your arm, right? Easy things, and I'm going to show you a few of those easy things in a couple of minutes. 150, 10 minutes at a time, Do that every week, add a little bit of muscle movement, and then add some balance training, whether that's shifting side to side, right? Or whether that's going up on your toes a little bit, or maybe leaning, put that catch up a little bit further down the countertop, so you have to lean a little bit, you know, get off center, get off of balance, come back again, do it safely, right? Practicing that means that when I do actually lose my balance, I'm going to be more likely to pull myself back with safety, right? And this is the balance training piece. There's a thing called Canadian Physical Activity Guidelines for older adults. And then there's Canadian Physical Activity Guidelines for adults. And guess what? The older adult one, we have to do more than the adults. We have to do that balance piece. And that's because that balance piece helps with the falls prevention. So I want to leave you with that, with the talking piece. Let's have a look at 7 super easy moves to do that you can do anywhere at home or anywhere that you are, even at the park. You're going to look a little unusual if you just do a couple things at the park. But lots of people are at the park doing unusual things right now anyway because they're so excited to be at the park. And I want to talk a little bit about this first movement or set of movements. That's my warm-up. So can you warm up for 5 whole minutes? Please do, because that gets everything flowing, right? 5 minutes. We need to clock 5 minutes of getting things going. Let's swing those arms back, okay? And we're looking at pushing back, okay? And then bring them and step them out to the side. So it's like you're opening up the curtains, you're coming back, you're sweeping the hands back, and then let's go to the other side. So this is a great warm-up move, and I'm using every muscle in my body, right? Do I look like I'm breaking a sweat? No, I'm just warming up. Am I breathing? Yes. Am I looking kind of happy? Well, yeah. If you smile a little bit, you trick your body into thinking you're having fun. Did you know that? Yeah, the smile comes first. Then you have fun. It's like, yeah, this is not so bad. Can I do this for 5 minutes straight? Well, I could, but it's going to get kind of boring, right? So I'm going to tweak it a little bit. I'm going to come to center. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to grab a big bouquet of flowers. I try and stay away from the grabbing food analogies because then I get hungry, you know. Grab some flowers, grab something you love, snuggle it in. Okay, and do that on both sides. So take that out. Again, small steps. Look how small these steps are. I'm not trying to reach. I'm actually trying to stay close to my body and just get things like, how are my shoulders? How am I going to know how my shoulders are unless I move them? How about I take a nice wide stance and I just take my fingertips around, kind of tickle them, right? So I'm finding out what's happening in my hands, my wrists, my thumbs, which do have arthritis, okay, my elbows, my shoulders, my back, right? When I do this, I can tell you exactly how my shoulder's doing right now. Not so great, right? And it's going to be different every day. Do things on both sides, so each direction, because this, guess what, is a different kind of set of muscles going to the left compared to going to the right. Like very different. In my case, if you have a frozen shoulder, you're going to be like, oh, this side is fine and this side is here, right? So make sure you give both sides equal, you know, love and attention, for lack of a better word. And if you don't have mobility in one part of your body, then take care of that, right? Don't force it. There's no need to force it. So once you're warmed up and you're like, okay, this is not so bad, I want you to think about your feet. So we don't move our feet. We don't. If you could do this and tap to your favorite song, you would strengthen your shin, your ankle, your foot, your Achilles tendon, the arch of your foot, your toes, your calf muscle, all the muscles around your knees. So get out there and tap to your favorite song. And then how about you do the other side? And I notice, oh yeah, already I can notice this side sucks. It does. I just don't use this much as, you know, I always tap with my right foot. How about with your heel? So tapping with the heel. This is like the stomping, right? Stomping with the heel, great for bone density. Look at this. I got some impact here, but it's really, really light. But I'm getting bone density improvement all the way up through my body into my hip, which is another place that arthritis lives in my body, right? And now, how about one toe and one heel? Oh, ah. Oh, can you hear that cracking? That's my toe cracking, okay? Crack, crack. Do I want to lock my knees back? Never, right? Never. Safety first. How about just coming up on the balls of the feet? Yeah, just a little bit. Just see, oh, okay, second time's better. I'm not holding my breath. I'm just seeing where I'm at with that balance, rocking front to back. Or maybe one foot. I don't even think I can do this today. But again, play around. I would say have a chair. Have a chair handy. Or a handy dandy wall, yeah? Nice, walls are nice. At the park, you know, cleanse and sterilize your bench before you use it, but there's trees, there's benches. After we do the feet, let's come on up into the hips and the upper body. So I want you to imagine I'm sitting in a chair, or you can just sit in a chair. Cross your hands across here just to keep them out of the way, and we're going to lean back, and then we're going to lean forward a little bit. Lean back. Now, do you remember the old days? You guys who are my age or older, do you remember crunches? And you curled, and you just kind of hold your breath, and we don't do that anymore. We stay long in the spine, and we pull those elbows forward and up, and you're going to feel that front, sides, back, bottom, and top of your trunk or your torso, right? So just leaning back and up. And again, if you were in a chair, you could do it, call it what you want, a V-sit, a reverse sit up. There's lots of names for it, but it's a great way to get the whole middle of the body from the hips up to really strengthen. And you're also getting those muscles to be long and loose. Why? Because shoulders are usually already really strong and tight. I don't want to build any more shoulder. I got enough shoulder. I want those shoulders to let go and come back a little bit. And just doing this does not feel natural. This is not the answer for me, is just to walk around like this, even though it would probably help in the long run. What I want to do is get those shoulders to come up and around and back and down. And I'm going to use my elbows. Okay, my elbows are the ones that are actually driving this move. I'm not just vroom, vroom, right? Elbow up and around and down and back and around. Oh my gosh. And I can feel that through my chest, through my shoulders, my upper back, arms, front and back of the upper arm, front and back. And you know what? Even in my wrists, if I wanted to make it really emphatic or really focus, I would do long arms, or maybe even the backstroke or the front crawl. Do I ever want to do this? Personally, both arms up overhead is not a good place for me because I get this crunching kind of restricted feeling in my neck. So for me personally, I'm going to go up with one side and then the other. And most of the time, I'm at my elbow level. I'm not doing fancy long arm stuff at all. I'm just getting that sense of helping this muscle loosen up, dripping down my back rather than being up and curled like a cave. You know, I want to really let those shoulders come down and back without feeling like I have to overdo it. Shoulders are good. Yeah, we've done a little bit for this trunk of the body. Let's do a little bit of balancing. Let's actually climb that ladder. Oh, are you using every muscle in your body? You betcha. And if you don't like climbing ladders, maybe that brings back, you know, horrible feelings from when you used to have to do roofing, you know, with your family. Anybody else have to do roofing with their family, whether they wanted to or not? Yeah. Okay, at the cottage, maybe at the house. So place your hand in front of you on the counter, okay? And then put your toe behind you and try and reach that $50 bill. Oh yeah, but you can't twist, right? No twisting, okay? Take out the twist. Don't be twisting. Most twisting things are actually a combination of two moves, and they're just habits. Oh yeah, and so put your hand on the counter here and reach that other toe back and see if you can get the other 50 that's over there. And if you're not, you know, if you're not motivated by money, pretend it's something important. It's a piece of paper, right? Get that piece of paper, bring it forward. Feel that stretch, you know, in your hips. Feel that sense if you were just balancing. You didn't really feel like it was a really tough balance. Twisting, grocery store to cart, you know, top shelf to cart, you're just overworking some of those joints when you could do 1, 2, step 3. Right? See if you can undo some of those twisty things. The final thing that I'm going to show you is a side slide, okay? A lateral slide. So I want you to mention a long bench seat here, okay? Maybe you're at church, maybe you're at the pub, I don't know. You're going to slide along, you're going to kind of elbow the person over here and go, hey, move over. And then you're going to slide over here, elbow that person, hey, you, move over. What you're not doing is the hippie shake, right? What we want to do is take those legs, let the legs do the work, not the knees, right? We're shifting, we're really pushing down into the ground and shift. And if you want to, you can kind of, does this look a bit like Tai Chi? Yeah, this is right out of Tai Chi. And Tai Chi, by the way, is another wonderful whole topic that you could do a whole presentation on, which I won't. But this idea of using the sides of the legs. Yes, we do lots with the front, lots with the back. That's, you know, the ladder climbing and all that. But let's use the sides. Let's put a little bit of balance in there as well. What do you think? So there's 7 little nuggets of movements. There are those 150 minutes and 10-minute little blocks of time with a couple of times doing a little bit of resistance. You can add flavor to your resistance. You can get those stretchy bands. There's all kinds of cool equipment. You could just use your body weight. Do a plank, right? And that's all that I have for you today. Thanks so much.
Well, I think that was so great. And you know, when it comes to keeping active, it's all about doing what you can do in a safe manner. And I hope you have a lot of energy left after Lisa's fitness demonstration. And thank you to all our presenters today. And stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll learn about empowering dementia-friendly communities and the services available through the Hamilton Public Library.